First off, can we just appreciate this shirt? I wish you'd let me read. Yes. Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be continuing my 2018 reading wrap-up with books 11 through 20. If you guys have missed any of the other wrap-ups that I've done so far, I'll leave those down in the description and you can check them out. But you guys know in these videos I do little reviews of the most current books that I've read this year. The 11th book that I read in 2018 is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This follows a girl named Eliza, and she is a senior, I believe, in high school. She doesn't have very many friends, and she spends the vast majority of her time working on this webcomic that she's created called Monstrous Sea, and it's actually one of the most popular webcomics around, and there are tons and tons of fanfiction writers and stuff like that. At the beginning of the book, a new boy moves to her school, and it turns out that he is the most popular fanfiction writer for her webcomic. She immediately feels some type of connection with this fanfiction writer, and they become closer, and it's just about her trying to navigate the remainder of her high school career while still keeping up with this webcomic as it's starting to approach its end, and also deal with fans and fan expectation and fandom and everything like that. It is phenomenal. I absolutely loved this book. I am not a huge YA contemporary reader. I don't usually like the books very much at all, but this one, I loved it. Eliza is so relatable. She has pretty bad anxiety. Most readers end up being more on the introverted side, and it's more common for introverts to have social anxiety and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people will be able to relate to Eliza in that respect, not making the most popular webcomic ever. I also really enjoyed that in this book you get some of the webcomic in the actual book. So I really enjoyed seeing the characters of the story that she's writing. There's another picture. And I just thought it was a very cute, fun read. I really enjoyed Eliza. I really enjoyed Wallace as well. I think that they together were something that I could just easily root for. I thought the writing was really solid. I thought the story was really solid. Everything about it, I was on board, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. Next up, I read Stormwatch Volume 2, which is by Peter Milligan, Will Conrad, and Cliff Richards. If you guys don't know, Stormwatch is about a superhero team that has been protecting Earth for a ridiculously long time. Stormwatch is very secretive, and they go around and they save the world without anyone knowing, and they make sure that they don't get into the media or anything like that. They work behind the scenes more, which I thought was a little bit more interesting than the Justice League. This volume, however, is not very good. I did not like it very much. I gave it 2 stars. It was just all over the place. This is what some of the artwork looks like, so it's not bad art. The story in this one was what was suffering. In this comic they have dolphins, like technological dolphins coming and attacking people. It was just like, what? So sadly, I didn't really enjoy this one that much. I will probably continue because I enjoy reading about Midnighter and Apollo and the rest of the team. I just wish the story had been better. I then picked up and read Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. I did a book review for this, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave it up in the card symbol, but this book also disappointed me, not quite as much as Stormwatch, but I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I had quite a few problems with it. Mainly, I hate one of the main characters. She's so frustrating, she's so annoying, she doesn't make any sense, and I just really hated her. Reading about her was not very fun. I liked the other character, however, so that was what gave it that 3-star rating, was because one character was good, one character was awful. In this book they introduce another type of monster, so that was really fun, and if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts about why I was so disappointed about this book, check out that review. After that, I wanted to continue the BookTube SFF Awards shortlist nominations. So I ended up picking up Witchwood by Tadamafi. I borrowed this from my library as an ebook, and I didn't enjoy it. It follows this girl named Liliy, and she is what's called a Mordashore, and in this fantastical world, she is the mortician, really, of her society. She cleans the bodies and prepares them to go on to the next life. She prepares the spirit to move on, and her father has not been helping with that duty at all, so she is very overwhelmed and very overworked. Then the main character from the first book, Alice, shows up in this story, and she is supposed to help Liliy, but it's not described how Alice is supposed to help her. So I really did like that Witchwood explored this whole concept of death, and I think that it does a really good job of familiarizing young children with respecting people's bodies and not being scared of the bodies as much, which is something that's important. I really liked that. I really liked Lily's powers and all of that. I just really liked that she was a mortician, and I think that that was the biggest pro of this book. Other than that, I didn't really enjoy it very much. I thought the writing was over the top and hard to get through, and for a middle grade, that's not a good thing. You want middle grade readers to be able to read your stories pretty easily so that they don't get bored and put it down and move on. This book is actually more about Alice than it is about Liliy, and I didn't think that made any sense because this book is really pitched as being about this Mordashore Liliy, but it's not. It's about Alice still. So I didn't really like that because I didn't really like Alice that much in the first book. She did not move over well because I didn't really like her in this either. She's fine, but she's nothing spectacular, and she's not a character that I root for. I think that the characters in this act way less mature than an actual 12-year-old would. They act like 6-year-olds and they have grudges like 6-year-olds, and it's just a mess for no reason, because 12-year-olds, I know this because my brother is a teenager and not that long ago was 12. He acts nothing like that, and none of the people that he interacted with acted anything like this. So I just didn't like the characters. Also, there's a legal proceeding that happens in this book, and I thought that it was irresponsibly done. I'm a little biased because I'm in law school, so I look at those things and I analyze those things for how accurate they are, and this book really portrays lawyers as awful things. It's hard to go through life without having a lawyer, and to teach people to distrust lawyers immediately causes a lot of problems. So I didn't like the whole courtroom scene because it made lawyers seem awful, but obviously that's a personal con. And the last con that I'm going to talk about is that I read this book as an audiobook, and the audiobook narrator does it terribly. I did not like this narration at all. The accents he gives people are the most annoying voices ever. One of the side characters, Benjamin, in this, his mother has the most annoying voice. I could not stand it. I know that some people probably actually talk like that, but no, I really didn't like it, and it made no sense. All of these people in this one town that were supposed to have been isolated for a ridiculously long time. There's not supposed to be any outside influence because they cut themselves off from everyone. Each person has the most random accent from all over the place. I didn't like the narration, didn't like the characters, the plot was okay, and I didn't like the writings. I ended up giving this book 2 stars and moving on. After the train wreck that was Witchwood, I picked up Liliy and the Octopus by Stephen Rowley, and I actually did really enjoy this one. It follows a guy named Ted, and he is living with his dog Liliy. He has recently-ish broken up with his partner, so he is now alone, and he has put all of his love and affection towards Liliy. One day he notices that Liliy has a growth on top of her head, and he immediately identifies it as an octopus, and then throughout this novel it follows Ted, Liliy, and the octopus as Ted is trying to get rid of the octopus and to save Liliy. It's one of those heartwarming, heartbreaking dog books, and I did a book review for this, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave that up in the card symbol, but I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I continued my actually liking books roll, and I picked up Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is also nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards in the middle grade category, and so far, this is the only one in that category that I definitely recommend to people. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. It follows this girl named Morgan Crow. She's considered a cursed child in this world, and on her 11th birthday she is supposed to die. Everyone around her thinks that she is responsible for every bad thing that has ever happened to anyone around them. Anytime someone falls down and breaks their ankle, it's Morgan's fault. Anytime someone makes a bad business decision, it's Morgan's fault. If someone gets sick, it's Morgan's fault because she looked at them for more than a half a second. So she has a pretty bad run of things as a child because the town doesn't really like her and her family doesn't really treat her very well, especially her father. She just is waiting basically to die on her 11th birthday, but instead she is whisked away by this guy named Jupiter, and she is taken to this place called Nevermore where she has the opportunity to join the Wondrous Society, I believe it's what it's called, by participating in this competition, and she obviously says yes because she doesn't really have a choice. At the beginning of this book it gives a lot of Harry Potter vibes. So I was like, oh, I don't know about this. This seems very similar. But it quickly goes from a lot of Harry Potter vibes to its own story with this competition and everything that she has to go through. She definitely grows a lot in this novel, and I just adore Morgan Crow. I just want her to be happy and I want her to succeed. I thought the different trials and competitions that were testing the children for certain traits were really interesting. They were very quick, but I still found them interesting. And I also really liked that to join the society, each candidate has to have some type of talent that makes them worthy of being a part of this society. So Morgan, throughout the novel, is trying to figure out what her talent is and why she would be able to be accepted into the Wondrous Society. It's definitely a story of found family. She creates a new family from all of these very wonderful people that she meets throughout the novel. And it's a story about believing in yourself even if other people in your past have told you that you can't do something or that you aren't worthy of love, that you are worthy of those things and you are worth something. I just really enjoyed this one, and I definitely recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. After that, I read When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is a book about a neurosurgeon, Paul Kalanithi, who finds out that he has lung cancer, and then throughout the course of the novel, you follow him while he's going through his different treatments and his mental state during that. He explores self-worth a lot in this novel and what it means to spend your time wisely when you know how much time you have left and it's not very much. There's also a strong message that you're not dead until you're dead. So don't start acting like you're gone before you're gone. Live until you can't live anymore. And I really enjoyed that message. Paul Kalanithi was super well read, more well read in classics than I will ever be in my entire life. He has a lot of those references in here, so I enjoyed seeing those. Even though I haven't read all those books, I know those references. And the afterword that was written by his wife was probably my favorite part of the whole book. The book is written more stoically, more analytically than it is written emotionally, because that's exactly how Paul wanted it to be. But I was expecting it to be more of that emotional tearjerker shindig. So I enjoyed it a lot, just not as much as I thought I was going to. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars, but I definitely recommend it. It was a very interesting read. I also watched Paul Kalanithi's wife's TED Talk after this, and I think that they were just both wonderful people. It's sad that he had to write this book in the first place, but I'm glad I got to read it. The 18th book that I read in 2018 is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This was nominated in the BookTube SFF Awards debut novel, and tons of people have absolutely loved this book. I ended up borrowing this book as an ebook from my library, and that was a huge mistake. Not because the ebook formatting was bad or anything like that, but because it takes me so long to read ebooks. This follows a band of mercenaries, and they are now middle-aged men, and they had disbanded a while ago, but now they're coming back together because one of the band members' daughters, Gabe's daughter, is stuck in a situation that she can't get herself out of, and she is surrounded by tons of enemies. This band, Saga, is going to try to go and save Rose. That's basically the premise of this book. This book is pretty funny. It's a parody almost of a fantasy book. It kind of pokes fun at the genre while still being a part of the genre, which is one of my favorite things that books can do. I also really enjoyed the main characters of this story. I thought that Clay Cooper, who is really the main character of the book, and his friendship with Gabe was so amazing, and in the afterword the author talks about how his little brother is the Clay Cooper to his Gabe. I feel similarly about my brother in that way. Like, Torrin is probably the Clay Cooper to my Gabe. So there were things that I really did enjoy, but because it took me so long to read this because it was an ebook, I started narrowing in on problems that I had with it and then really noticing those as I was reading it. First off, there are like no good female characters. Jane sort of is a good one. She's kind of a comedic aside that you see every once in a while, and she provides some laughs. But every other female character is either really stupid and weak, or they're bloodthirsty traitors and murderers, or they're drug-addicted absentee mothers. The only well-roundedly good person that is female in this book is Jenny, and she's not in it for very long. That's Clay Cooper's wife. There could have been a lot better female characters in this. There's also a ton of fat jokes in this book. I understand that a lot of the characters are now middle-aged, so they're not in the prime of their lives. They're not in the best of shape, and so they've put on pounds, and that affects them on a day-to-day basis. But like every single chapter, there is fat jokes talking about how the characters can't do certain things, or they're surprised that the characters can do something because they're so fat. And this one woman is described in the most disgusting way because she is fat. It could have described her as completely disgusting because she's a cannibal, but no, it was because she was fat. And they describe historical figures that were bigger as being so obese that they couldn't do this, and they made fun of them for that. And the way that this person died is funny because he was fat. It was just too much, and I really noticed it, and it kind of brought down my enjoyment of the novel. My last con really that I had was that the final battle scene is just all over the place, and it doesn't matter because you could skip the whole thing and not miss a single important thing because it doesn't really focus in on the main characters that we've been following the whole time. It focuses in on all these random people, and it doesn't matter. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars because I definitely understand why people love this book so much, but because I read it so slowly, I really noticed some problems. I'm gonna try to get my hands on a physical copy and physically read it, but for now, 3 stars. The 19th book that I read in 2018 is Batman Year One by Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli, and Richmond Lewis. This is an old school Batman comic that really set up how the Batman comics have continued on to the present day. It introduced a more gritty style to Batman, and so it's one of those important staples in comic books. I actually did really enjoy this. The artwork is dated, which I knew going in, so that was fine. But I enjoyed seeing Bruce Wayne slowly transition from coming back and seeing a problem to slowly kind of accumulating this idea for Batman and then implementing that idea. He doesn't just come back with this plan of being a huge bat and running around the city in tights. He slowly came to that plan. I ended up giving this book 4 stars because of its importance to comic book history and Batman specifically. I think if you're gonna read a lot of Batman comics, then it is worth it to go back and read this one. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's the most necessary thing to pick up. So it was a fun ride, 4 stars, but nothing necessary or spectacularly amazing if you're just a casual Batman fan. And the 20th thing that I read in 2018 is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. I also did a book review for this, which I'll leave up in the card symbol and you can check it out. But this one follows a construct that is made out of organic and inorganic materials. It's not really a cyborg and it's not really an AI system. It's a sec unit and it refers to itself as Murderbot. Its job is to be the security detail for people that are exploring different worlds to decide if they want to bid on that world to develop it and colonize it. But the thing about Murderbot is that it hacked its own governor module, so it doesn't actually have to listen to any commands ever. It has autonomy over itself. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think Murderbot is amazing. I love Murderbot. I am so excited to continue this novella series. I think that it will just continue to get greater and greater as the books go along. And I think that it addressed a lot of social things in this book as well. I definitely recommend this one. And if you want to know more thoughts, check out that review because this video is already forever long. So those are the next 10 things that I read in 2018. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below what you've been reading recently. Do you have anything that you would recommend me? Are there any of the BookTube SFF books that I talked about that you've read and loved or that you read and hated? Let me know any of the things down below and I will talk to you guys next time.